Welcome to the Invincible Innovation Show, the podcast for changemakers. Each week, I talk to the most fascinating entrepreneurs and innovation leaders about innovation, strategy, and design. Hey everyone, welcome to Invincible Innovation Live Show. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm Elizabeth Batalla, product innovation and value creation expert, and I'll be your host. My guest today is Elizabeth Batalla, Executive Director of the Institute of Achievement and Excellence. Hey, Elizabeth.
Hello. So happy to be here.
I'm so happy that you're here with me. I'm sure it's going to be really interesting. And I would just say that Elizabeth helps women to be unstoppable so they can achieve success and fulfillment in their professional and personal life. Now we can start. We're live. Yeah, and we're live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, and you're so invited to join the discussion and ask questions. And now we can start. Why do you think women leadership is so important, even more? Why do you think so?
Well, there are many reasons, but the main reason is that women of today, they have greater purchasing power than the yesteryears. They are in senior positions and they make the majority of decisions in most cases in the household in terms of what to buy, where to go. So their purchasing power and their decision-making aspect is higher at a higher level now than ever before. Also, in relation to women leadership, more and more as companies are forced to be on social media, to have a presence, to remove that veil of secrecy that was once there covering companies, people are expecting to see representation. They are expecting to see diversity. They are expecting organizations to be more ethical. And as a result, women in leadership represent that diversity, that level of representation for the masses. And of course, technology can help organizations equal the playing field. Now the small organizations are playing in just as big a space as the large organizations. And people are expecting and looking for, again, that representation. So it works. It's a win-win for women and it's win-win for the organization to have that available.
Yeah. When I think about it, it's like in the past when you were supposed to be all the time in the office, and now we're talking online and we're both working online. It seems that it's so much better for women today to do several things all at once instead of going and being in traffic at least like 1-2 hours a day. Do you think that influenced?
Absolutely.
Because they are more available for work, or maybe it's like, I know, like some of my friends, they work even more right now than in the past if you're working online.
Absolutely. As I said, Eddie, it's the benefit of technology giving women access to work, in situations where they may not have been allowed or available to work. And also it's just the whole change in space of what is expected from organizations now. In terms of the representation, that is a big factor. And organizations are realizing that having a diverse team is actually a benefit to them in terms of profitability, in terms of generating ideas, in terms of just connecting with clients and customers. It's truly a win-win situation for why the importance of recognizing that women bring a different dynamic to the leadership table.
Yeah, what you said about that women are the purchasing power. This is what I think, that either than electronics, maybe, and maybe a car. I'm not sure. Other than these two, I guess that women would be the one to decide, especially if it's something like presents or clothing or something from the house. I guess it will be women who do that. And it seems that companies are trying to be more and more aware of their customers. In order to do that, they need people within the company to really understand that too. It's not enough to just go and ask these women, what do you think? And then a group of men would be the one to decide in the end, right?
Hmm.
As someone who's coming
Absolutely.
from, yeah, and as someone who's coming from design, I'm so aware of it that most of the decision makers are men, actually.
Hmm.
And it's not like they're not smart enough, and it's not like they're not willing to share the decision making. I think that they're just seeing the world a bit differently than women, and in order to just understand them, they need a woman there to help them to do so,
Hmm.
I guess.
Yes.
What do you think would make a change in the way that C-level and leadership perceive women in their like company?
What would make a change? It depends on quite a few factors. To ignite change means almost accepting that diversity and the contribution that women can make and the benefits of having women in leadership roles is here to stay. It's not a trend. It's not a passing phase. I mean, how many times have we seen where a diversity badge has been handed to someone to do as part of their role in or in addition to their role, not taken
Yeah,
seriously as an actual role. I'm not saying all companies, but I'm saying there are many organizations who see it as an addition, an add on, something that they need to tolerate. And it's reflected in a checkbox in their policies, or it's reflected in a couple of posts on social media or a statement on their website. The thing is, organizations, and these are based on studies, are 70% more likely to tap into new markets with a diverse leadership team. They are 45% more likely to experience growth. These are big numbers. These are huge numbers for organizations. And an organization that doesn't recognize that this is not a trend, it's here to stay, and there's genuine benefit from having diverse leadership teams, they will struggle because the the present generation, they are about engagement, they are about representation, they are about authenticity, and they expect that from the organizations they purchase from as well.
yeah, and they decide where they want to work for. It's like in the
Yes.
past, I think that maybe our parents, they were less aware, like we'll find a good place to just work for 30 years, and then we'll go to pension or wherever, and that's it.
Mm,
And I think
mm,
that the current young people entering their like starting their career, actually, they are very aware of where they're going to put their time, resources, and talents, and they are asking questions about these companies, and they really want to know. It's not enough for them to get a salary and to be comfortable and convenient. They want to know where they invest their time. And I think that especially in Israel, you see it a lot in
mhm,
technology companies, that they're trying to attract talent and to retain talent, and
mhm.
and people are really aware of what's going on in these companies, and if they are like the right place to work for.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, I would say to leaders out there, look at the whole process. Look at your process from beginning to end, meaning from induction all the way to exit. What can you do? There are many organizations where there is no sponsorship programs for females. There is no mentorship programs. There is no assistance. Even the way sometimes a job is advertised, it's advertised, the wording, the structure, the requirements, the demands, it's structured for predominantly a male candidate. And I am challenging organizations to redress this and look at this in the context of the benefit of, again, having that diverse leadership team on board.
Yeah, I saw, I think like 2 months ago, there was a research, and they went and looked in ads for new employment
Hmm.
ads, and they looked for what are the words of descriptive words they are using in order to find the right candidate. And they looked for all the ads for Amazon new careers, all the ads for, I don't know, Facebook, whatever, and they took the words, and the words were very it was like a very manly word, like powerful, fast to deliver. The words were very strong, like a warlike situation, working
Mm,
under stress, all of these words. And it seems that they are not aware that it could be a bit intimidating for women for women
mm,
in general to go to these kinds of positions, because when they see that, they're saying, okay, what does that mean for me to
mm-hmm,
be available all the time and work under
mm-hmm,
stress all the time? Is it like what
mm-hmm.
I want, or is it like what I need? Like, it doesn't make sense to women in many cases.
Absolutely. And women can be powerful and women can work under stress, but as you rightfully said, it's how it's phrased. It's phrased in relation to support the male psyche, and women will see a position like that. And even though they are qualified, in some cases, I dare say even more qualified, they may not apply for that role. And another study showed that 65% of women lack the confidence to put themselves forward for roles like that, and other studies even higher, that percentage is even higher. And it begs to understand why it is in these modern times that there is not that support and that representation. And again, if one looks at the process within an organization, on many occasions it's really just discussions, lack of action, perhaps lack of understanding, perhaps even lack of awareness. I don't believe a company sets out to be unethical. I don't believe that people and men are bad in any way at all, or form or fashion, but it's to raise the awareness that this has an impact, or these things have an impact on the way women perceive and receive that information.
Yeah. It's not that I think that some of the male leaders are bad, but sometimes they're so aware of their own capabilities and therefore they're looking
Yeah.
for someone who is similar. And they're saying, okay,
Yes.
I'm so successful, I'm doing decisions so in such a successful way, I would find someone who's similar to me. And it reminds me of a situation 2 years ago, before the pandemic. I was in an innovation summit, and one of the people of the attendees in one of my workshops, he came from a big manufacturer from Germany. And he said that in the board meetings discussing where would they place their new plants, sometimes he heard that the top of the, like, I think it's not the CEO, it's even the owner. And he's like an old guy and very aware, very successful guy. And he said that they should decide on a place that doesn't require by law to have women in the sea level. And
Mm,
this was one of his points on where to discuss, where to locate their new manufacturing facility.
yes.
And when I thought about it, other than the fact that someone who's more old has more old-fashioned views, I guess, I think it's related to the fact that he's so sure of himself. He knows
Mm.
how to do it, and therefore we say, okay, we've done, like, I have this company for 50, 60 years, this is how we've done stuff till now. Why should we change because somebody changed the rules, their laws? It doesn't relate to me.
I completely understand that, and I completely, empathize with that situation. The thing is, familiarity seems easier. It feels easier because there is less conflict, there is less dialogue that has to take place in order to make a decision. But is it though? Is it easier in the long run? Because it means that a lack of diversity means a lack of interjection of different ideas, maybe a lack of considering certain items that are considered visionary. Sometimes just one idea can change the course of an organization. And by not having proper representation on a board, there is the strong possibility of the company losing touch with the very clientele that they want to appeal, they want to appease or they service. And I am not saying that having a female on the board or a diverse person on the board is the solution. I am saying it is part of the solution. in driving a company forward and for the company benefiting from all that it has to offer, because companies are now playing in a more global space. They are servicing different ethnicities, they're servicing different genders, they're servicing different lifestyles, depending of course on their products, but generally they're reaching a global audience. And a global audience wants to see global representation. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it makes sense. It's related to diversity in general, not only
mhm,
regarding women. And
yeah,
more than that, I think that women have the ability to empathize with people, so they understand how would they see it and how would they perceive a new product, maybe that will go to the market, and maybe even listen differently than men.
mhm,
Sometimes it's like over like arching everything, but I guess that women see different things differently because just because their life are so like life experience are so different than men, and they are more aware of things that men would not even consider sometimes, right?
absolutely.
So I know that you teach women to overcome these obstacles, and I know that you have 9 life areas that you teach women
Yeah,
in order to succeed. So tell me more about that.
of course. So I founded the Institute for Achievement and Excellence because in my 30 plus career in corporate and in predominantly male dominated environments, I kept interacting with women and I kept hearing the same concerns, the same questions, the same doubts, the same fears. Also, even lecturing at universities and colleges, I kept hearing the graduates complain about the same things. And I felt that I needed to create something that answered these questions and that helped women to navigate the space that I fortunately successfully navigated along my path, my career path. It wasn't easy. I didn't always get it right, but I learned a lot along the way. And I realized that all of these concerns and questions fell into one of 9 life buckets, as I call them. So the 9 life buckets really makes up a framework. And the framework is called the 3 forces in achieving excellence. And it's all about showing up at your best, not perfection, because perfection can be elusive and it's
Yeah.
usually not attainable. I am not talking about perfection. I am talking about a woman doing the best that she can with the resources that she has and the time that she has to do it in. And how that is done is I looked and I was able to help these women by looking at the 3 forces. Each of the 3 forces contain 3 life cycles. And that's how we end up with the 9 life buckets or life cycles. So, in the 3 forces for achieving excellence, the first force is identity. You, as a woman, what can you do to change the way you show up and approach? And that contains the 3 life areas of personal brand, demeanor, and personal style. The next life force is all about connections, relationship with herself and relationship with others. And I look at physical, mental, and emotional health and awareness. And then finally, the third life force is status. And that looks at the 3 life areas of her profession or business. How can she navigate that space successfully? How can she manage her finances? And what does she need to do to prepare and secure her outlook on the future? So that's how we end up with those 9 life areas. They are based on the 3 forces of achieving excellence.
I'm very interested about the second one that you taught, because in
Uh-huh.
many cases, when we're talking about business, we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about financial capabilities and the way that we are perceived by others and the way that we present ourselves. But we're
Mm-hmm.
not talking about mental and physical health because it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's like a separate situation, not related to our career in many cases. Although we
Oh,
do know that it is so important. So tell me, what
yes.
are the barriers or issues that women are addressing in these like specific topic?
And these specific topics, you mean mental, emotional, and
Yeah,
physical.
yeah, yeah.
Sure. Sure. So in these topics, there are there's so many things in there. It's truly a holistic way for women to level up. And in those three areas, I look at there are many things. So like in the physical area, I look at things like nutrition. I look at things like movement. I don't necessarily call it exercise. It's about moving the body, about taking adequate breaks, posture, all of these type of things. Understanding the different types of diseases that fundamentally women should know about, understanding the way hormones take priority, like for instance when a woman goes through menopause, that has a massive effect on a woman's output. um, in terms of mental health, I look at different things like meditation, mindfulness, self-suggestion. I look at routines. What can benefit someone to do in the morning, in the afternoon, at night. In terms of emotional health, I look at how can someone set better boundaries with family, with friends, with the community, with at work, with colleagues. It's a host of different things that can help someone holistically level up, in other words, to rise to the occasion. And why? Simply because those things, even though they sound personal, they fundamentally affect the performance of females in the organization. Fundamentally. And that's why it's important, because it's not only the responsibility of the organization. The organization has a certain degree of responsibility, but so does the woman. She has responsibility for taking control over the areas of her life that she has control over, and ensuring that she shows up to the best of her ability. So there is no argument that she is not the right person for that job.
Yeah, it really makes sense to me to think about it holistically, because it's not like we have one person going to work, one person staying at home, or one person going to his friends. It's like the same person. But I think that most women, when they think about career, they would think about the way they present themselves, speaking in front of an audience, things that are required to be a businesswoman, okay, to work as a woman in a manly company in most cases. And I think that this move, in order to see the person as a whole, is something that we see in management too. We see soft skills being more important. We see
Mm,
mental health of the employees being more, and people are more aware of it, and it's more like in the front of what people are talking about, and not like in the back of, yeah, he's missing work because he's unwell, like in only in
mhm,
the, in the corners of the curve, and not in the
mhm,
middle of the discussion. Do you see
mm.
that when you talk to companies too, that they are aware of the connection between mental health or any kind of health to the workplace? Maybe because of COVID, they're more aware of it.
Mhm. Absolutely. And in a lot of the examples in those three areas that you wanted me to expand on, I
Mhm.
always use examples and exercises and questions that help someone translate that into the business world. So you say to me, okay, Liz, you talk about routines, day routines. What does that mean for me? How does that impact my work? Basically, the mind dips after lunch. So if you are doing a job where you're sitting at a desk all day long and you have a strategic meeting after lunch, it makes sense to go out for a quick walk because it gets things moving. Because once we sit for more than 30 minutes continuously, our metabolism goes down. And with that, there is an issue in terms of thinking, coming up with quick ideas, um, being creative. So for me, if I know I have a strategic meeting in the afternoon, although the morning is better, I tend to do something to raise my metabolism a little bit, even going for a walk. So I translate all of the things that's learned into the business environment so that they can use it in the business environment. So it's a win for them, the female, and it's a win for the organization.
Yeah, it makes sense to think about these when we go through the day, and for me, when most people are working, not most, many people are working online right now, and
Yes.
it means that they're alone in an office most of the time. just sitting so long. In the past, I've been
Mm-hmm.
like 2, 3 times a week at least. I've
Mm-hmm.
been moving, like going to a client, driving to Tel Aviv, wherever. And now I'm
Yes.
here. And
Yes.
it's I'm even missing traffic. I got to this stage that I'm missing like just talking to a friend, and driving and listening to a podcast. So it seemed
Mm.
that this specific point is so much more. You should focus about it more because it's more prominent in your daily life. And the fact that you need to be aware of yourself and how do you relate to your work and to your.
Absolutely. Yes, because there is even another tip for your audience. There is a little exercise by Dr. Jeffrey Anshel, and he calls it the 20-20-20 rule. And what he says is every 20 minutes, take a 20-second break and look at something 20 feet away. 20 seconds every 20 minutes. That's a minute an hour. That's not a lot of ask. And again, why is this important? It sounds trivial. It's important because constantly staring at the computer may generate headaches. Generating headaches may mean reduced productivity or reduced performance. It may make someone frustrated. So in a meeting, they are not contributing the way they need to contribute. So it's a lot of little things that can be done, simple things. I'm not saying it's always easy, but I'm saying simple things that women, people and women can do in order to boost their performance, to feel better personally and professionally, where they benefit and the organization benefits.
Yeah. So usually tell me, how is it structured? Is it like a course or a program that women go through, or it's personal? How do you work with women?
There are different ways. So they all of the programs are on the website. It's online, self-paced. That's one way. You can go in and you can choose whatever you would like. Now there is a free assessment on the site. That assessment asks a series of questions. It's very simple. It's just 15 minutes and there is no right or wrong answer. It's just to give a guide so that someone can determine their areas of strengths and their areas of not weaknesses, but areas perhaps for improvement. That person can then go on to the website and choose the particular module that they want, or they can purchase the top tier course, which is Achieving Professional Excellence. That has all 9 life areas, and that person can start wherever they want. They can start at the beginning and complete it all the way to the end, consistently, or they can tap into the module of choice. It's entirely up to them. There is no restriction. And there is also a bonus section in there to help women understand how to navigate the space if they are already in a gender biased organization, how to deal with things like a narcissistic boss. It covers a lot of things, how to deal with different levels of conflict in an organization. And that's just a bonus in the top tier program. So the programs are there. After the programs, if someone really wants to go further, because the programs provide a really good, strong foundation, they can work with me. I work with individuals as well as I work with organizations with their female talent from induction all the way up to around mid management level.
I see. So tell me about the women. What are the biggest challenges that women face today in their career?
The biggest challenge women face in their career. I'll maybe give three. The first one is just basically gender discrimination in all its forms. Um, one of the parts of gender discrimination that I would like to really tap into is something called microaggression. Simply because microaggression is so frequently, it's often overlooked. Because in isolation, an odd comment here, an odd comment there, if a woman were to say, "Oh, I feel uncomfortable with that comment," someone may look at it and think, "Oh, but there's nothing wrong with that comment." Perhaps, but when that comment is received every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, or a woman is shut down at meetings upon meetings, every time she opens her mouth, she is talked over or shut down, or someone at the meeting takes her idea and extrapolates on it and use it as their own, or she doesn't get the kudos for her contribution. It's draining. It can wear anyone down.
Yeah.
Anyone down. And the
So
thing is,
give me a small example, like just that we'll have a feeling of what does that mean.
so it's I have been on sat on a few boards where I am the only female in the room, and even before I make a point, someone would speak over me, or I would make a point and I would be interrupted, and I would have to say, thank you for contributing, but I'm not quite finished. And it's just that constant having to do that over and over. Or I may be in a meeting, and they may get together at the coffee cooler room or the coffee, and I'm not part of that group, or I'm not part of the discussion, or a decision may have been made and I didn't have access to that process in order to contribute, even though I am sitting at the board. So it's things like that. And to the other male counterparts, it was always no big deal. It was just a small decision. Okay, it was a small decision, but it was a decision that I needed to be part of, because that's something that I have to roll out to my team. I have to support at a very high level in the organization. So I needed to be part of that process. And there are many, many, many examples of that. So
Yeah.
microaggression is something that women face constantly, and it's very difficult to explain the damage, because in isolation it may not seem like a lot, but over a period of time it
Yeah.
amounts.
Yeah. Yeah,
So microaggression is
there
one.
is a word, I don't know how it's in English, but it's like when a man is explaining for instead of a woman, and he's trying to, I don't know the word, I have it in Hebrew, and it's like someone who is like he's taking control over the discussion, sometimes
Yeah.
in topics that you are more experienced with, but
Mm,
they're like it's man taking over the discussion instead of a woman talking, but I don't have the word for it.
yeah.
So yeah,
Or I
I
would.
know it's mansplaining. I think that's the word, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes,
yeah.
yes, 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 absolutely,
India that
absolutely.
translated that. Okay.
So that's microaggression. Another one is another challenge that women face in their career is lack of flexibility in terms of working hours. Many women, they are still the one who does a lot of the responsibilities for the childcare, for raising children. Many women also at a stage and age where they take care of elderly parents, or they are going through menopause, or for many women, their monthly cycle, the first day or the first couple of days, they're in a mess because they're in constant pain and it's quite uncomfortable. And I can see, I've sat in rooms where men roll their eyes when that topic comes up of menstruation, because
Yeah, yeah.
I understand. It's not something that they have to deal with. But I kid you not, we are not exaggerating when we say
No.
sometimes it's so uncomfortable that we can't even walk. For some women, for many women, that is the case. It's not an exaggeration. Um, so, sometimes flexibility around working hours, where maybe all the woman needs is the morning, and she can do more hours in the evening to make up for that, to facilitate her, giving her that space that she needs to recover. Things as simple as flexible working hours. And the final thing, again, it comes back to lack of representation and sponsorship. A lot of women are finding it difficult to get sponsorship in order to step into leadership roles. And those tend to be the top three I have noticed.
Yeah, I was in like I think like 5 years ago. I went to a conference for women in tech, and it was in Microsoft, and everyone there were women more or less my age, a bit like younger or my age, and a man sat next to me, and I said like, why are you here? We're like all women, and it was like a bit weird. And then he was called to the stage, and apparently he was the head of the CEO of Microsoft Israel, something like that. And he said that he came in order to just explain how important it is as he sees that, and that women need to be more part of the decision making in the C level, and they're so aware of the need to help women to get there and to give them the sponsorship and the mentorship in order to get there. And then he mentioned something, it was before COVID, and I never thought about it. He said, like, we have two main like areas or buildings that we're in. It's like a few, it's like a small area for a few buildings for Microsoft in Israel. And he said that one of the things that they are considering is to build many small places for Microsoft, so women could get there much more easily. Because right now, like going and being in traffic jams to Tel Aviv could be 2 hours, 1.5 hour each direction. And for a woman who needs to be more or less like 9 hours at least in the office, and they have kids, and they need to place them in the kindergarten or in school, and then come and take them at 5, it wouldn't work. It just doesn't work when you sum up the numbers, right? So just being aware. Right now we have more online, but it's not like, not everybody could do their work online, of course. But just being aware of what does it mean to be a mother. And in Israel, we have lots of kids. It's not like we don't have one kid and you say, okay, 4 or 5 years, done. No, right?
Yes.
So just being aware is so important.
Absolutely. And again, I'm not saying that there are great men out there. I'm not saying that men aren't great. I'm not saying that companies are not doing their best. I'm saying that more can be done. Awareness needs to be raised, both for the woman and the company. The company needs to up their game. The woman need to do the same. It's a dual responsibility. But this is the whole idea of raising the awareness that these things need to come to the forefront. It is not a trend. It is something that is here to stay. And if organizations want to survive, if women want to sit at leadership tables, these are all of the things that need to be taken into account.
Yeah. One of the things that when I talk to students, sometimes I talk to women students before they start their career, and I give them like a small like lecture and we talk. And one of the things that I'm telling them is that they need to be aware of their talents and skills when they come to a discussion, especially when they're going to a new position interview, and they're interviewed. And sometimes they come from, we don't know that, we need to do the job. We're not like a bit apologetic in a way, instead of just knowing what they're worth. Like, women in general are more educated in the world. Women in general, they get higher grades. Even in STEM studies, they're better. There are some like these geniuses in the end of the curve that are men sometimes, but in general, women are better. And when they come to this new game, which is their career, to the company that they need to work for, they're not aware of it. And sometimes they don't even know what is the right salary that they need to ask for. And because they don't know how to do the negotiation, and negotiation about money is a very manly, non-feminine thing, they're starting in a very bad situation. Afterwards, just to cover that, afterwards is so hard. It could take years in order to get to a salary that men started with a few years ago.
Yes, because men have the head start. Remember, in our grandparents' time or parents' time, the men were the ones who work, so they are accustomed to that space, and obviously their whole demeanor is built for that. It's built for goal-oriented setting. And I'm not saying that there aren't women who can't achieve that. That's not what I'm saying. But naturally, we are nurturers. So to go up against someone and say, "I want more," it's not entirely natural for a female. A female tends to be the giver rather than the receiver. So for her to say, "I want more, give me more," even though she knows she deserves it, it's not something that comes natural to her. And I always say to young ones going into organizations, as well as women in general, doing a good job is not enough. It's not enough. People have to recognize that you're doing a good job. Go on LinkedIn. I'm not saying to be arrogant. I'm saying to promote yourself. Let the world know that you have done a good job. You have won an award. You have contributed. You have been creative, and show evidence of it. Because men do it. They do it. They broadcast from the hilltops when they achieve something. What do?
Yeah.
We stay in the background. So even though that has been achieved, no one knows it. And if no one knows it, how can someone decide or look at your portfolio and think this is the person for the role? So again, it's not about arrogance, but it's about showcasing yourself, doing what it takes to raise your professional profile in an organization, because just doing good work and sitting back and waiting for something to happen, it's not going to happen, or very
Yeah.
rarely would it happen.
Yeah, I think that women in many cases they think because they're doing a very good dedicated work, they think it's
No.
enough, but actually nobody would come and it's like you're not a victim here.
Mm,
You're the one
mm,
who's calling the shots, and therefore you need to be more proactive and do what needs to be done. Although you don't like politics, although it's so hard to go and talk about yourself, although in some cases it makes sense because you will get more pushbacks than a man would, right? If
mm.
somebody would say like, if she they wouldn't say she's so assertive, they would use a different word to
Yes,
describe that, right?
yes, yes.
So you need to be aware that's the games. It's like these are the rules for the game, and it's not against you. It's not that your boss is not appreciating you, right?
Mm,
Which I think that I hear a lot. Like they're not appreciating my work. They're not appreciating me as a person. They're not appreciating my professional capabilities. And it's like not understanding like the negotiation, the navigating of this like domain of politics within the company or
mm,
something like that, right?
mm. Yes, absolutely. And I always say, and again, I say to women in general, who, when someone says to me, I don't want to get involved in the politics, by being in the work environment, you are involved in the politics. Understand that an organization has rules that they speak about, and they also have unspoken rules. It is your responsibility to understand those rules. Now, what is the benefit for someone understanding those rules? Because when a female or woman or a person, but we're speaking about women here, when you understand the rules of the game, the way the game is played, you can decide how far to bend those rules. If they can be bent, can they be broken? If so, when, where, how? Or are these rules not in your favor and therefore you need to walk away from it? By understanding the rules of the game, you have the power to decide whether you play and how you play. But you need to understand the rules of the game, both spoken and unspoken, simply because no matter where you go, no matter what level of the organization you are in, by being in the work environment, you are playing the rules. You are
Yeah,
you are playing that political game.
yeah.
So
I
that's
think
just something to bear in
yeah.
mind.
Yeah, I think that women are trying to avoid any kind of conflict whenever they
Yes.
can, right? And sometimes it's like, Israel is a very. Have you been to Israel in the past, Elizabeth?
No, I have not. Not
No.
yet, anyway.
Okay, so Israel is people sometimes people would say that Israelis are rude or they're not polite
Mm-hmm.
because they're saying everything to your face. You would never hear
Mm-hmm.
something which is like going around. They would just say it, and there are like two sides to that. One, it's like sometimes it could be a bit offensive because somebody would tell it to your face. On the other side, you're allowed to say whatever you want, and
Mm-hmm.
it will be okay because people are so aware of yeah, this is how we talk. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that women should be aware that what you're saying about the communication and about the politics within the company is something that you need to learn, as well as like just to understand that sometimes somebody tells you something and your reaction should be in the way that they perceive it. Like maybe your boss is a male and he thinks that's telling you that you should do that, you should do that, or whatever, and you say it's a bit offensive, and sometimes it seems that he's not appreciating me again. You should just know how to approach that in a way that it will be
Mm-hmm.
a negotiation and not like, yeah, they don't understand me, they don't appreciate me, and then just going 2 3 steps back and not really handling that in many cases.
Yes. Yes, the thing is, when someone doesn't understand the rules of the game or the rules of communication, and I use the word rules, but it's used in a context, in a light way, everything
Mhm.
feels personal. So,
Yeah,
for as an example, one of the things that is covered in the profession part of the program is understanding your boss's management style. If this person is someone who tends to micromanage, don't go in and give this person your life story. People bosses who have that type of personality tend to respond better to detail. They tend to respond better to statistics, to very direct communication, short, sharp communication, as opposed to a visionary person or collaborative person who responds better to long term vision, to long term commitment, or to team collaboration. So, by understanding the other individual and understanding how to communicate best, you can get their support easier. And why is this important? Because your boss, your manager, is the one who can provide that support, provide resources for you to get your job done and make your job easier. That's one aspect to the rule. Another aspect to the rule is that women, as I said, tend to be nurturers. So they tend to offer their advice, and they offer their advice thinking it's a gift they're giving, there's something they are given. Men do not like unsolicited advice. Most men will take
yeah,
advice only when they ask for it. And
yeah,
this is something that men don't appreciate. And as a female, you are doing what comes naturally, but for them, it's not something that's received well. And then you go away thinking as a woman, but I'm helping. Why is he being like that?
yeah,
From his perspective, he didn't ask for your help. And
yeah,
that's again understanding the dynamics of male female communication and understanding the rules of the game. And that's why
yeah.
it's important.
It sounds like something so important that every female going outside of just need to be aware of it, just starting their career, knowing that these rules exist
Yes.
and you need to be aware of it, and and just knowing that, as we said, it's not personal. You just need to know the rules.
No,
It's
it's
like
not.
yeah,
Mm.
you want to play soccer, but you don't know exactly what are the rules. You will not be good at it. That's it. Okay. So, what is your number one tip for leaders today?
Number one tip for leaders. Mm, I would say, in terms, invest in your people. And I know this sounds cliche, but in a different way. People are not staying in organizations where they are unhappy and unfulfilled. It's the game plan has changed. And for leaders to truly leverage the capability of their workforce and to really push the organization in a new direction, they really need to look at how they inspire others. It's no longer just standing up at a podium and saying all the correct words or a fantastic shiny plaque on the wall that has the mission statement. Leaders really now need to roll their sleeves up and become almost a new term that's being used on the market is a servant leader, where that leader truly invest, take actionable steps to invest in their employees and generate the leaders of tomorrow, because that's the only way the business would survive. And that's the one thing I would say, really put people at the forefront and consider a diverse leadership team, because that will help the company continue to move forward.
Yeah, sounds really interesting. So, where could people hear more about your work and contact you?
Sure. The easiest way to get in contact with me is via my website, and that's achievement at excellence.com. Let me say that again: achievementandexcellence.com. All one word, and the word and is AND, it's spelled out. So, achievementandexcellence.com. You can go there. All my social handles are there. The free assessment is on there, and you will be able to see all of the courses and programs and a way to contact me from there.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I learned so much. So, thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah. And to all of you like young women out there, I would encourage you to go and learn all these like parts of the program, and I'm sure it will be beneficial for your career wherever you are. And to all of you change makers, thank you for joining us. And if you want to learn more about what I do, go to invincibleinnovation.com. And I'll see you next week with another innovative, insightful talk. See ya.
Bye.
I'm Adima Zorkario, and you've been listening to the Invincible Innovation Podcast. Make sure to visit our website, invincibleinnovation.com, where you can learn more about our programs and my book, Innovating Through Chaos. I'll be waiting for you next week in our next episode. Thank you for listening.